Hey everyone, this is Marcella with Petite Greek, and this is our first virtual Their Story Told, calling it Talk Coffee Talk, because it's obviously very casual in the home, as everyone is quarantined during this time. And I am with my good friend, Devin Roscillo, sorry if I mispronounced that. And thanks for being with me today.
Yeah, Marcella, thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it, and it's really exciting to be your first guest too.
Thank you so much for being with us. I love it. This is great. This is all new, so for everyone, kind of going through this all together. So Devin, tell us a little bit about what you do, your background, and what your business is.
Yeah, sure. So I am an entrepreneur. I'm the owner of Unleashed Innovation Coaching, and that means I'm an innovation and mindset coach. I have also been and am a speech pathologist, but I am transitioning away from the field right now because I find that my passion is coaching and it's calling me in that direction. So I work with professionals who are kind of eager to find something a little different for themselves so that they can really access their creativity and use their more creative side. So they might be feeling kind of stuck in their job, or they might be feeling secure but not loving the way that their career is progressing. And so they come to me and we work on mindset practices, and we work on getting really brainstorming a lot to bring some new, fresh ideas to life. And we really clarify what their vision is moving forwards, and generally move forwards in the position where they can start their own business, or at least their own side gig, and set them up in a really, really nice way to succeed in their business.
That's great. I mean, I think so many people need that right now, especially now.
Yes.
Working through their creativity, seeing how they can change things and pivot. Pivot seems to be the hot topic right now. And so with that, that's going to be a question I'm going to ask you in a little bit, but kind of, how are you feeling through all this right now with your business as well as personal, like temperature check going on here?
Yeah. So it's been interesting with the progression of COVID. I went through definitely some stages. I think in the beginning, the first 3 weeks or so was pretty roller coastery. The first 2 weeks, I was really, really kind of shutting down, just really feeling everyone else's pain, and really empathizing with the rest of the world. And that kind of caused me to slow down with my business too, and just my personal well-being. Yeah, so that caused me to slow down with my business a little bit. I was in paralysis mode slightly for the first 2 weeks. And of course, now I'm still empathizing, but I also recognize that if I am in paralysis mode personally and in my business, I'm not helping anyone. And I think that this is a really, really important time to be able to help people. And I know that I have the skills and the abilities to be able to really make an impact on our community and support people at the individual level too. And so I'm focusing on serving now. Of course, it's still a really hard time emotionally, financially, in so many other ways, but I can't do anything for the world or for my community if I'm stuck in one spot. So that's really been what's driving me forwards, is just knowing that I do have the tools to support my community, and so I'm going to use them.
That's amazing. That's so great. And so with that being said, is that kind of how you're pivoting in changing your mindset and your business as well, is to help these other businesses? And
yeah, so there are a few ways that I've been pivoting. I actually realized a few weeks ago that I wasn't necessarily working with the type of person that I knew I could really, really help. I think I was limiting myself because I'm a speech pathologist. I thought I could only work with speech pathologists as a coach. And so I've been rebranding and getting more clear on who my ideal client is. And that may be a speech pathologist, but it also can be any other type of professional who's feeling stuck in their career and who wants to use their creative side and really tap into something new. And so I'm pivoting in that way. I'm rebranding my business, changing who I can reach. And I'm also starting to offer free workshops right now, because I think that there are some people who are still working, but there's also a lot of people who aren't working now, but they still need the skills. If they can't afford it, that's okay. I still want to provide them the skills and the tools that they need.
Sure.
Did you hear her?
Was that your dog? I love that. I thought someone came on for a second. I'm like, who is that other person?
A whale.
It's okay. It's fine.
Okay.
Oh my God, I love it. So through this, have you learned anything about, I know that you have just, you're going through your rebrand or whatever, but you mean through your, your other business and industry, have you learned anything through this crisis that you've noticed or about, when you're rebranding, just in entrepreneurs as a whole, things that you've noticed?
Yeah, definitely. I've learned two things, probably more, but one is that this is a time for opportunity and self-reflection and self-connection. I think that this has caused a lot of people to actually slow down, which is a really good thing in our world because we often just operate on way too quickly and don't spend enough time with ourselves and don't spend enough time getting to know and love ourselves, which is really, really important because how can we be happy with someone else? Or how can we be happy in our career? How can we be happy as a whole if we don't appreciate and love ourselves? So yeah, I think I've definitely learned that, and that this is also a time for communities to really connect and come together. And I love that I'm seeing that people are really supporting their own communities and doing a really nice job just showing people that we're in this together, which I love.
Fantastic.
It's a good time to just show value and just to connect with the people I'm talking to and the people I'm reaching out to. And this is coming from an entrepreneur's perspective. It's in a fast-paced world, it's so easy to get hung up on how am I going to make money this week? Yeah. And yeah, that's happening now. I've gotten hit financially, and so how am I going to make money this week? But honestly, it's the last thing I'm thinking of. What I'm really thinking of is how can we support the people who are struggling right now. And I think a way to do that is just to provide free value. So that's why I'm putting on the workshops and the webinars that I'm doing. And I think it's a really important way to give back. And again, from an entrepreneur's perspective, in the end, if it ends up turning into a client like a year down the road, that's great. But I also know that I impacted that person for an entire year for free, which is a really cool feeling to have.
Oh my gosh, absolutely. And that person will never, ever forget what you've done for them,
Hopefully.
Yeah, absolutely. You can't replace that value, ever, or the appreciation. So what advice would you give to entrepreneurs at this time?
Yeah, that's a good question. I would definitely give them the advice to, this is so vague, but look within yourself and start connecting with yourself and that personal relationship to yourself. Because you're going to come out a much stronger person and a much stronger entrepreneur, a much stronger human, husband, wife, etc. Yeah. If you take that time to actually do introspective work and for example, I do a journaling practice every day, and had I not started that 3 or 4 years ago, I definitely wouldn't be where I'm at now with the emotional intelligence that I have and the self-awareness and the strength and endurance and resilience that I have. And so I think that this is a really, really great time for people to be looking within themselves, because a lot of people now have the time, but they also just have a slow down community vibe to live in and work within. So sure. Yeah,
that's awesome.
Definitely important.
So important. I think you're right. It's the first time that we're have to hang out with ourselves for a very long time. So it's one of those things like, well, what does this mean? Kind of be self-awareness is really, really important, especially as an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
Yeah. What are some of the things that, that you'll think through this quarantine and once we're all back to work, and I say normal, but I think it's going to be the new normal. I hope a lot of things will change, I think, in our world through this.
Yeah.
after this. But what are some of the things that you think that you're going to implement that you've learned through this whole thing that you've actually thought, you know what, this is really beneficial that I've been doing for these past 4 weeks?
Yeah. Yeah, definitely the free workshops. Definitely, I really want to continue those.
Mhm.
And also just respecting time, recognizing the fact that time has slowed down now has put into perspective that it really is an aspect of our lives that we live by and our days are driven by. And I think what I've noticed is that there is time in the day to go take a 10-minute walk, which is really cool. Because before this, I probably wouldn't have gone to take that 10-minute walk. And it's really nice to get out and just stand in sunshine.
Yeah.
And that we take for granted that I'm learning now is something that I just wasn't showing my full appreciation for. And now I have the opportunity to do that. And so I'd like to see myself continue going on walks after this. And making sure that I continue my morning journaling routine, and sitting down and having coffee with my husband before he goes to work, because he is still working. He's an essential employee. But yeah, there's so many things that we can learn through this experience that we can continue to implement after the world goes back to a different world, but something maybe picks up aspects that we're more familiar with than we are right now.
Sure. Well,
It's definitely going to be a different world, but there will be some familiarity again, I think.
exactly. And so with that being said, what are some of the things that you're doing to self-care for yourself through all this? Because it is stressful and it's emotional. And so.
Yeah, so I am connecting with my community a lot more on a one-to-one basis and on a group basis, which is really, really nice. I've always connected with people on one-on-one, but there are so many people in my Facebook community that I don't know, like through Zoom, for example, that I have never connected with through Zoom or in person, but we've messaged here and there. And it's been really cool to message or to Zoom with them and get to know them on a more personal level and really just form a more meaningful connection. So that's something I've been doing for self-care, because I just find that I thrive when I'm engaging in human connection, especially meaningful connection.
Yeah.
I also am still doing my journaling practice every morning, or most mornings at least. And I'm also, again, trying to just keep in mind that time and peace are things we take for granted, and just trying to absorb that peace that I feel some days and don't feel other days. So I kind of remind myself, like, I'm welcoming peace today. It's totally okay to feel peaceful in this environment. And in fact, it's needed to feel peaceful in this environment.
That's great. That's fantastic. What have you learned about yourself or your business through this?
Yes, a lot actually. So, like I said in the beginning, I learned that I was serving and I was really enjoying my business, but I was limiting myself by sticking with such a small ideal client, if that's what you would call it. And I think that there was a real shift as soon as I noticed and realized that I was limiting myself. It's like, well, I can't be limiting myself. I have this philosophy that we deserve to live and can live a limitless life. Yeah. And here I was putting a limitation on myself that I just didn't recognize. And as soon as I recognized that, I realized I had to make a change. And so that was the biggest lesson I think that I've learned from my business throughout all of this. And that we have to be flexible. That's the other thing. We have to be flexible and adaptable and be able to shift and pivot in any time.
Oh my
God.
God.
We don't know when something's going to change.
Yeah, for sure. I think this whole thing is teaching all of us flexibility. I mean, and I think as a human race, you know, as the world is going through it together, it shows how much flexible we are and how adaptable we can be, which is really, I don't think we've noticed that up until now. Obviously, none of us have been through this before. So,
yes, that's very true. Like you're shifting right here. I mean, you're doing your video or your videos. What do you call it?
Conference, virtual.
Yeah.
Wow.
And yeah, that's a shift for you. So like,
Yeah.
I think, even like workout places, exercise
Yeah.
businesses that have their brick and mortar are now going online, and that's still a way for them to thrive. After the world comes together in some sort of way, they can do online and brick and mortar exercise classes too. And that's going to open up convenience for so many other people that couldn't attend the exercise classes or were uncomfortable exercising in a big group of people, etc.
Yeah.
So we're definitely opening access to people to a variety of things.
Oh my gosh. It's incredible how it's just extended your business in that respect. Like something that you may have, I have a friend of mine who owns a bread company that they've always wanted to do online, but they've never had a chance to. And they just got obviously pushed into it because of this, because it's the only way that they could survive through this. And now they're doing everything online, and it's fantastic. And they're delivering to your home. Their sole focus in business was restaurants only. And so now it's like open to the public through online. So it's really, they call, obviously it's a crisis, but on the other hand, there's been a lot of positivity through it. So
yes, absolutely. I think I kind of view this as a forced wake-up call for the world.
I like that.
We have a lot of people have woken up to the idea of the fact that we're not doing everything that we possibly could or want to do for ourselves and our businesses. And here it is. Here's that wake-up call. Go ahead and spring into action,
Yeah, right. And like you talked about being adaptable. I mean, here we are. We have no choice. Or we can just curl up into a ball in the corner. So we can't do that.
We can't do
so is there anything, besides with business aside that you've been enjoying, that you could recommend from a book, TV shows, podcasts, just something fun that you've been enjoying through all this?
Yeah. So my husband and I love to karaoke, and we actually have all our own karaoke equipment.
I love that. That's fantastic.
We hadn't been doing it for a while, and so we actually started karaokeing at home again. I've never been a dancer, and I'm learning how to dance at home with him and my sister. And we did dog yoga with our dogs the other day.
I love
so many new things we can entertain.
So cool. That's so cool. That's
One challenge that I've given myself is to try something new as often as possible. I won't say every day, but honestly, I pretty much am every day because I'm learning how to run a business. So that's something new. But I think it's really important for our growth and to step outside our comfort zone as often as possible. And stepping outside our comfort zone means trying something new generally. So I think that's a great way to grow.
That's so great. I love that, Devin. That's awesome.
Thank you.
It's a great challenge. I think we all need to think about. You're right. Stepping out of our comfort. I mean, we're all out of our comfort zone right here. But I think we can get stagnant is because, like I said, we can't roll, curl up in a ball and just stay in the corner. So it's like, well, here's our new world. So just kind of roll with it and get out there and do something different. And like I'm doing today with this virtual conference with you. That's awesome. I love that. Karaoke too, because you have a great voice and you sing. So
thank you.
So fun. That's one thing I don't do well. But I can dance. So. So how can we, where can we find to support you, and from your website to social media?
Yes. So since I'm in the middle of a rebrand, it is hard to find my business page because it's under construction, and my Instagram hasn't switched over yet. But I personally am on Facebook, and it's my first name, last name. And I would love to connect with people on there on my personal Facebook. That's honestly, I do my business through my personal Facebook and reaching out to my community and my friends. So I think that's the most authentic and best way to reach me because it's easiest for me and you're accessing me.
I love it. Well, great. Thank you so much for your time, Devin. I really, really appreciate it. It's been so fun learning about new rebrand and what you're doing through this. And you're just a positive light, seriously, just listening to you and how you're improving yourself. And it's just an inspiration to us. So thank you for all.
Thank you, Marcella. I really appreciate you
Have
having me on today. It was so much fun.
It was fun. Thank you so much. Thanks for being my first guest.